without further ado, I will invite Miska to the front and then you can.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here today, and thank you as well to CBCS. It's an honor to be here today. My name is Mishka Yuki. I am 17 years old, and I have recently got admitted into both Oxford and Stanford University. I think I'll start with one of the biggest misconceptions. People always think most of the time that the time where you start to prepare for universities is in grade 12. But it's actually much more than that. I think it is something that you do build gradually over the years. Of course, the most important thing is still your academics. So your child's grades would show consistency and dedication over time. But even much more than that, universities are looking for something much more deeper. They're looking at who the student is, who they will become, how they think, and whether or not they pursue education and learning at a higher level than they are required to do so. Other than that as well, there are many things that we do need to prepare beforehand, maybe even years before. So things like standardized tests, SAT, IELTS, and also just finding out what is it that your child is genuinely passionate about and creating something meaningful from it. So maybe that's joining competitions, creating a project, or intellectual development. Because universities aren't only looking for students who have high marks or high grades, but they're looking for students who have developed depth and direction over time. So if we start early and just gradually prepare ourselves, then the whole process will definitely become much more natural and manageable as well. And so that's actually why I created this book. So it's called The University Blueprint, and basically it is essentially a guide for students who aspire or dream to study at top universities, but might not know where to begin. And so this is why I wrote this book. I think throughout the journey, there's definitely so much challenges and so much difficulties. But once you really understand how to approach that journey, then everything becomes so much more easier. And so in this book, I talk about everything on how to approach your journey starting from grade 9. There are also some insightful tips and tricks, including SED strategies, that I personally found very helpful during my preparation time. I think throughout the application journey, something that we do realize, and maybe not so much at the beginning, is that it will be a difficult one. And it will be a long journey for your children, definitely. Throughout the 4 years, there's definitely a lot of hard work and sacrifice that not many people see. When people hear the word Oxford or Stanford University, most often they only see the final result. But behind that, there are real work and dedication and years of decisions, mistakes, and learning and preparation. And so through this book, I wanted to show that real journey and just share it with everyone that I could. And so I hope that through this book, we could really see how with dedication and hard work, and of course resilience as well, big dreams are possible. But it is something that you need to approach step by step with intention and direction, clarity, and conscience as well. So I really hope that through this University Blueprint, your journey and your child's journey would be one that is much more manageable, much more natural, and much more worthwhile as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for coming today, and very sorry that we're late. So I guess my name is Winnie. I'm the mother of Mishka, and I guess witnessing Mishka's journey for the past 4 or 5 years, one thing is certain is that no matter if the kids do everything right, if they don't have like a proper structure or direction, that we cannot predict the result. So and as a parents, along these years, we always have a lot of opportunities, and we always try to say yes to everything. Like, there will be so many competition, so many summer courses, research, journal, and everything. But as a parents, we always try to say yes for everything because we think that that's what's best for our children. But the fact is that's not right. That's completely, wrong. So that's why I believe that through what she's been through, that the most important thing is how we plan the next 2-3 years. And what kind of activity, what kind of project that your child must take. We have to make sure that it will have some really meaningful for their profile in the end. So that's why, based on this, me and my partner Sheila decided to start the council. And we hope that through what we're doing, we are able to help other parents and children to guide their child and maximize their chances at the top universities. So, yeah.
Maybe we can do Q&A.
So we're here today sharing Mishka's news book. And also the platform that she's been using to prepare herself for the past few years, which we can demonstrate later. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. So thank you.
Okay, so anyone wants to ask? Probably many questions in your mind. Okay.
Good morning, my name is Julia, and I'm a parent of Nader in grade 7. I would like to ask you, you said you're 17 years old, so what path are you choosing? Is it O-level, A-level, I get C, or high school completion, or other pathway?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for your question, and thank you so much for attending the session today. So I'm actually using the advanced placement, so the AP curriculum, and I will be graduating very soon. I have also previously already experienced the different curriculums, so I've done IB and I've done IGCSE as well.
Okay, so you're using AP,
I'm using the AP curriculum right now, yes.
What score of IB of the 21 AP classes you said you took?
No, it's
You took
15 classes, yes.
And what are the scores? All of them get accepted as the university credit
Yes.
towards your graduation?
Yes, so that does depend on which university you are trying to achieve. And basically, most of the time, if you get a 3 or 4 or 5 out of 5, then you would most of the time get the college credit. But of course, if it's in more top universities, the benchmark might much be higher, maybe 4 or 5 out of the 5. And of course, at the same time, other than the AP exam scores, our scores in our school also does matter as well.
So you're taking 15 AP exam or only AP classes, the 15?
So in US high school, you do need to take the AP exams when you take the classes.
Okay, so you took all, yeah, okay. All of that in the final year or
No,
that's
definitely.
in the 11 grades?
So it is definitely much more advisable if you do know since 9th grade that you start taking those AP classes. But for me personally, since I didn't know about AP classes in 9th grade, I took honors classes, which is basically higher than regular classes. And then in 10th grade, when I discovered there were AP classes, I took full opportunity of it. And so I did 15 AP classes in the span of 3 years.
20 years, okay, 15 years, okay.
Ada yang mungkin anak-anaknya lebih aiming ke US University, maybe. Yes. So I just would like to share something for those who aiming for US universities. I think these days the competition is getting more, it's higher and higher. So it's very important that you make sure whatever the kids doing is what's being recognized and respected by the admission officer, because in Indonesia I think there's a lack of information and misunderstanding among parents of what's important, to do in order to create a great profile for the children. Like, of course, number one is for sure is academic, so we thought really good score, then your application, your essay will not be even read by the admission officers. But once you reach that benchmark, it's your complete profile that's being looked at. And so, like, for example, a lot of parents put their kids through so many competitions that most of them, 90%, are not even being considered by admission officers. So means that taking a lot of competition does not mean that it's better for your child. So depending on the major, there are only very few competition that being looked at. But if your children is not the kind of person who's good at Olympiad or that kind of competition, it's really not the end of the world, because there are other things that the kids can do. Like, for example, I'm not sure if you heard, kebanyakan anaknya di grade berapa ya?
I think some of them from 7th grade until 12. But probably maybe the parents in the 12th grade also have siblings.
Okay.
In the lower grades.
Ya, karena banyak sekali, it's okay if I speak Indonesia. Karena banyak sekali itu salah persepsi di Indonesia. Jadi banyak anak-anak diikutin kompetisi banyak sekali. Padahal nanti when the child's application being looked at, it's not even considered at all. So you're wasting your time if yang ditujukan adalah memang dikira that competition is good for application. But it's different if you want your child to experience, if you want to build something, your child confidence, then that's great. Like with my kids as well, they took a lot of Olympiad when they're little. They took a lot of and win a lot of math and science Olympiad. But then as she grows, and then she changed. She wanted to do law. So like it's completely different. So if she want to apply for law, all this competition it's not going to be important at all. Like completely zero. So that's why when she's in, some people ask me, why is your child not joining any more math competition when they're in grade 11? And because that's not what they're aiming for. So why I have to put them, doing something that is not important in the end. So instead, we direct her to take competition that's suitable for that major. At that time, she's joining RISE competition. And she won, representing Indonesia, and that's one of the important competition for the kind of major that she's taking, for example. But again, as I mentioned, that if your children is not the kind of competition person, don't like John Olympiad, there are so many things that, your child can do. Like, there's so many kids doing projects, but also admission officer knows the difference. If there's so many kids just doing charity, they create groups doing charity, and
Yeah, so I think admission officers could definitely differentiate between a child who does things because they care for it and a child who does things because they thought they should. So if you create a project that's something niche and something that your child is genuinely passionate about, it would definitely show. And I think another thing that I would love to share is creating a research paper is definitely
that's my next one. But I would like to focus on, because there are so many different wrong conceptions that, if you do a charity project, a social project, that's all you need to do. But actually, it's not like that. It's the impact. How big is the impact? And what you do after that. So admission officer can see the difference if it's just a once-off project or if it's something that you build over the years and has it, give meanings to the child's growth. And And then another thing that Mishka has mentioned is a research project. Research project is something that these days a lot of kids do. And the preparation to do a research project is not only 1 or 2 years. If you want to have a really strong application, you have to start at grade 10, even grade 9. You have to find good professors that's suitable for your child's passion, and then build a project that's very meaningful, and later on publish it at a very good
Publication or research journal.
Yeah, so that is something that you have to prepare as well. So, so you have a lot of homework. The ones in grade 7 still safe. It's time to start soon.
Maybe you can share what major you took in the Stanford and also in the Oxford, and also you said that you accepted also in UCL and LSE.
Yes, and accepted in several other universities. However, the top 2 universities that I am considering are Stanford University and Oxford University. So for Oxford University, I am majoring in politics, and in Stanford University, I am majoring in political science and economics on a pre-law track. And for all of the others, it is all related to either politics and international relations, so around those areas.
Lagi, aku sih bahasa, oke? Saya punya 2 pertanyaan. Yang pertama, tadi kan terkait dengan jurusan yang dipilih, saya pengen dapat insight-nya untuk menentukan jurusan itu gimana ya triknya? Kan anak sekarang JC itu saya mau kerja sesuai passion, tapi kan kita harus rasional atau apa yang menghasilkan itu ya ada ya jurusan-jurusan yang emang lagi tren lah itu lebih menghasilkan terus gitu kan. Ini saya pengen tips juga dari mamanya, terutama kita gimana ya ngarahin anak supaya anak ini perform, tapi kita juga agak paksa dia menjadi orang lain. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, tadi soal riset. Anak saya kebetulan minatnya sains dan pengen banget punya riset, apalagi di punya yang publish journal ya. Itu caranya gimana ya? Mulai dari mana gitu ya? Dia bingung banget gitu, titik awalnya tuh di mana? Sekarang di grade berapa? 7. Thank you. It's a bit difficult to answer because everyone have different kind of style of parenting. So I respect everyone's way of parenting. But for myself, I believe that it's my job as a parent that I still harus saya arahkan. Gitu. Jadi of course I always listen anak-anak maunya apa, passionnya apa. Tapi of course I believe that I still have to guide them, memastikan bahwa seperti yang tadi sempat disampaikan ya, depending apa yang anaknya bilang. Kalau misalnya menurut saya kurang berpotensial in the future, then I will still, let them know, mengarahkan ke arah yang ini. Atau maybe, say for example, if your son, daughter like science, then maybe I will try to also suggest her to expand it. How about doing, in between science and business, for example, or I always try to offer them
Different opportunity and just a diverse range of areas and subjects of interest.
Yes.
Especially because I think these days, with any major that you are going to major in undergraduate, if you kind of blend it in with business, then there is always the potential in it.
But also in grade 7 is still slightly early to tell. Seperti anak-anak saya berbeda jauh. Anak saya yang satu lagi adiknya Devon, waktu awal very much STEM person. Dia sangat suka math, even sampai sekarang sebetulnya suka ya. He's very good at math, science and everything. Tapi along the way he got to learn. He has this entrepreneur side on him, so jadi dia suka sekali business, finance, and stuff like that. So, we're very grateful. Devon di umur 15 udah masuk ke second year University of Melbourne. So he will be graduating next year actually. So sebenarnya Mishka juga dapat the same offer last year untuk masuk ke University of Melbourne. Tapi Again, every kid is different, yeah. My son and my daughter is very different. My son, I guess maybe is a boy, so he's a bit laid back. Like, Mom, this is great. I get to uni at 15, a second year of uni, and he's satisfied with that. Tapi buat Mishka, at that time, dia insisted, no, Mom, I want to go to US or UK. So dia decided ya take the offer. So anak saya Devon masuk langsung loncat ke second year di University of Melbourne, and then she got bullied, dibully sama semua orang for the whole year. Like, hey, your brother is going to graduate sooner than you. Like, you're still in high school. Your brother is second year of uni. So she has to endure that from everyone for 8-10 months. Yeah, but she's very determined. Like she knows what she wants. She want to be a lawyer. She want to be in politics. And so dia wait. So dia continue pursuing, and thankfully we're very grateful dia bisa akhirnya dia accept di Oxford and Stanford. So but yeah, so yang tadi saya mau sampaikan passionnya bisa berbeda. Jadi dari yang tadinya STEM, and he's very much like he really love math and science. Suddenly dia bilang, Mom, I really want to study finance, economic, business. Jadi sekarang dia sedang belajar itu. He's not taking STEM.
Yes, and then also other than that, when it comes to the university application season, it's probably also important to consider that when you are applying the Universitas di Amerika, then it's much more flexible. So even though you are applying to a certain major, they're quite flexible about it. Jadi misalnya kita masuk thinking that we want to major in political science. But if in the first year we find out that, oh, we love business instead, or we love chemistry instead, we can switch to that. And maybe in the second year you would need to commit, of course, so that you can graduate on time. But then if we go to the UK universities, then it's very, very selective, and it does depend on your major. So, for example, for me, I applied to politics. Once I set my foot in Oxford University, then that would mean that they expect me to know a lot about politics already. You cannot change your major, or it's very, very hard, almost impossible to do so. So I think that's another thing.
Apakah ada yang lebih aiming ke UK, maybe? Have you seen them? Oh, good. I thought you were sure ahead.
Miss,
Yes.
mau nanya secara general saja, apakah Miss ada riset yang sederhana saja, apakah secara general orang-orang yang kayak bangsa sekolahnya di luar baik UK atau USA itu kerjanya nantinya tetap di luar atau balik ke Indonesia? Terima kasih.
I guess it really depends ya Pak, kalau itu. Jadi memang mungkin banyak juga yang karena tuntutan dari keluarga atau melanjutkan bisnis dari orang tuanya, so jadi mereka kembali. Tapi banyak juga yang once they found opportunities di luar, then they'll find it that it's better to stay there. So that is really a question that very tricky to answer.
It depends on the scope of works.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do law and all that, like if she were to do law in US, she'll probably have to stay in the States because it's not accepted here. So it really depends. So for Mishka, she actually wrote a book on how she managed to achieve all that. So she wrote on how she does it here, and then she used a platform. It's called My Uni Prep. It's the platform that she used to execute everything because it helps her to keep track of things on top of all the things that she needs to do. Because not only that she's juga student, tapi dia juga kan memang ada her own sejuta impian, punya activities dan all the different projects as a micro influencers, right?
Yes. It's important, as I said before, that you start from grade 9, to do activity, research, doing competition. So it's important to keep everything in track and documented in one place, and that is the platform that she used. And later on the process, during application, it's easier to prepare everything, I guess, in one platform that, so, because, when you apply to US University, for example, if you apply to, say, 5 university, then you have to do 35 essays. Yes,
At least.
so like 35 essays. So one university you have to do 7 essays. Another university you have to do another 7 essays. So it would be great if you very organized, and then bisa disiapkan dan mulai
dicicil dari grade
dicicil dari
sebelumnya.
grade sebelumnya. So that's something yang sangat-sangat penting supaya ya.
Again, congratulations on your acceptance. My question is, because you're very well-rounded, you're smart, you're pretty, and then you're also a great public speaker. I'm wondering, how do you cultivate your public speaking skills? Because, it's normally kayak orang Indo biasanya nggak pintar untuk ngomong gitu ya, apalagi di English. So,
Yes. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for public speaking specifically, I'd have to say that it's thanks to my mom as well, because she is a great public speaker, and since I was young, she did teach me how is it that I can speak in public. I think definitely one of the main things that students are afraid of is stage fright. But one of the tips that I think really work for me is just focusing on one person and think that you're actually just presenting to them solely. And that just makes you much more confident. I think spacing and intonation is also really important as well. Emphasize on certain points that are important. Have a slow spacing. That gives you time in order to think about what's the next sentence that you would want to say as well.
I think I want to share something with you. Mishka, both my children, actually saya ngomong bahasa Indonesia nih, mereka sangat pemalu dulu masih kecil. Sampai grade berapa ya? Grade 7, mereka tidak pernah stand out sama sekali, tidak pernah dipilih sama guru untuk doing anything. Sometimes saya pulang dari sekolah, say to my husband, kok anak-anak ini nggak pernah ya dikasih kesempatan. The teacher never picked them. Like they're like just like one of those kids yang duduk di kelas tidak pernah sama sekali mendapat kesempatan. So that was in grade 7. And then happened that one of the teacher, of course everyone's experience different ya. Waktu itu ada salah satu guru desain yang, yes, ada satu guru desain yang suka buatan dia, and then menawarkan, Mishka, do you wanna try to present your karyanya di assembly? So that was her first moment yang actually turned everything. Suddenly itu mungkin dia selama ini gak dikasih kepercayaan, lalu ada satu orang yang percaya sama dia. And then when she did this presentation, it was so amazing that all the teacher was surprised, who is she? Gitu. Jadi sometimes you just need to just have one person that believe in you, and then give you that opportunity. And from dari situ dia jadi percaya diri gitu. Tapi sebelumnya really dia sama sekali tidak pernah even dikasih kesempatan. I was quite upset with the school, to be honest with you. And dan akhirnya dari situ dia lebih berani, dan kebetulan jadi guru yang lain juga memberi kesempatan. Tapi to answer your question, I think there are places, maybe like summer course or course that you can put your kids untuk ambil short course untuk public speaking, karena di situ mungkin dia mungkin belum bisa langsung berubah ya. It takes quite some time untuk bisa doing public speaking quite well. Tapi mungkin mulai diikutkan acara-acara yang require confidence, gitu. Meskipun nggak necessarily harus public speaking, mungkin yang self development. Jadi setidaknya dia ada teman-teman yang bisa atau acara atau mentor yang membantu mengeluarkan sisi itu dari dia. Dan I guess from parents ya kita just keep supporting them. Kalau for me, I happen to like public speaking, so I train them also myself. But that's only because I like it. So and practice. Mereka dulu waktu awal-awal sebelum every performance, sebelum event, selalu saya minta latihan di depan mama. Jadi kalau ada salah, saya benerin, oh terlalu cepat, slow down gitu. Jadi saya suruh mereka latihan di depan kaca gitu. And kalau setelah event, saya kasih tahu, mama kasih masukan ya. Tadi udah okay, good, tapi it's a bit too fast. You need to put intonation. So parents' involvement is really, really important. So, I'm sorry, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Terima kasih sebelumnya, very inspiring story.
Thank you.
Pasti dari achievement itu semua, there's so many hard work behind it ya.
Yes.
Saya punya 2 pertanyaan. Yang pertama untuk Tisha, can you tell us a bit how you prepare for your essay university? Kayak how long did it take? Any tips for the other students? What did you write about it? And then for the mom, saya interested dengan pathway-nya dedeknya. Gimana dia bisa diterima di university at such a young age? Emang nggak perlu high school diploma or whatever it is gitu. Can you tell us a bit?
Itu kebetulan karena mereka acceleration. Yes, and then he has a very high IQ, and then he also won a lot of competitions. So I guess that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, SD1 took many international Olympiads.
Yes.
Ya. Jadi dari kalau anak yang banyak mengikuti Olimpiade internasional, even sometimes ditawarin juga oleh si universitas.
Yes. And then as for the question about the essays, I think the journey was definitely very different but this is mostly US, right? Yes. So US universities definitely, it took a really long time, several months I'd say, maybe.
I think it's good to take note.
Yeah, it's good to take note even years before if you think of anything that might be important for you to include in the essay. Even something that's creative, something that's not necessarily impressive, but might be nuanced and might be unique for your essay. Because especially for US universities, they are looking for who you are as a person. So they really want to discover what you're passionate about and why. So for my essay, of course, there is the main essay, that would be the Common App essay, which is where most universities would get your essays from. And that one you can actually choose from 7 different questions. So there are 7 different prompts, and the 7th one is actually very free, so you can write about anything you want. For me personally, I wrote a story kind of with a little bit of metaphor on my personal development, on how I gained my confidence, and how I gained basically, that removing the self-doubt out of me and the opportunities that comes with it. But other than that, there are also supplemental essays. So each university would have their personalized questions that you would need to answer. And most of the time it's like, why did you choose this university? Or why should you choose me, the applicant, to be one of your students? Or maybe something just like, tell me a story about a time where you faced a challenge. So in these essays, it does need to be much more personalized. And I would say it's really important to try to research about the university itself. So for example, Stanford University might like something that's much more innovative, entrepreneurship, and networking. While a different type of university might like sports, for example, or community-driven. So learning about these universities and the values that they really value in the students are very important, as you can try to emphasize that in your story somehow.
Ya, jadi to recap, jadi basically kalau di US kan every university punya personality sendiri-sendiri. Jadi when you create the essay, itu harus sesuai dengan kira-kira universitinya itu seperti apa? Apakah dia lebih cultural atau dia lebih teknologi misalnya? Jadi harus disesuaikan. Tapi something yang harus di take note juga adalah to write a great essay itu biasa, we suggest for anak-anak itu untuk when there is an important moment in life untuk ditulis di jurnal. That's from years before. Karena nanti waktu create an essay, because there's so many essay, right? And most of the answer has to be inspired by something that happened in your life. Jadi if the kids udah punya jurnal ini and udah nyatet tuh setiap kali ada momen important, jadi nanti bisa ambil dari I will take this and create an essay based on that. Ya, itu tadi di buku itu ada essay, salah satu contohnya essay Mishka.
Essay that got me into Stanford.
Itu ya. So it's quite for me as a parent, I feel that it's quite unusual. I wouldn't answer it in that way. So nanti kalau yang lain mau lihat silakan. Jadi the way she answered is quite artistic in a way. So yeah. Oh, tadi udah dijelasin tentang US sama UK ya?
Yeah, I did explain UK kind of most of it.
Karena ada perbedaan. Kalau UK essay itu purely based on
academics, formal, and are you ready in order to take this course?
Yes, jadi isi dari essay memang harus show how good you are, intellectually and academically.
Course rigor, and how much have you prepared in order to excel in the subject area?
Sama juga dengan interview. Biasa kalau udah diproses mau masuk ke university kan ada interview. The interview from UK and US is completely different. Kalau yang US it's more like kayak lebih santai, try to get to know who you are, what your passion. Sedangkan kalau yang kemarin Mishka di interview Oxford with 7 senior professor, and pertanyaannya tuh bukan sesuatu yang bisa dihafalin, dipelajarin ya. Questionnya is very tricky, yang
testing your critical thinking.
Yeah, they're testing your critical thinking and how you analyze the situation. So it's completely beda. Kalau US is like very relaxed, like
alumni interview.
Yes, yang interview juga alumni dan bukan profesor. Kalau yang UK itu nggak cuma 1, 2, atau 7 profesor at the same time. Jadi feelingnya lebih scary daripada interview for a job ya. So yeah.
Pagi, saya mau tanya, tadi katanya kalau untuk masuk ke university kan mesti banyak anak-anak bikin research project. Kalau boleh tahu, maksudnya ini projectnya kita ada saran ngambil di mana? Soalnya kalau misalnya selama ini kan anak-anak sekolah di sini ya paling projectnya dari sekolah. Tapi ini kan mungkin project dari luar ya. Ada saran misalnya ngambil dari mana? Terus katanya ada misalnya projectnya atau researchnya mesti komunikasi dengan profesor. Nah itu profesornya dari mana? Dari mana juga. Nah itu kita soalnya kan kita benar-benar awam tentang itu, jadi pengen tahu.
Jadi kalau untuk research project itu memang tergantung dari passion anaknya seperti apa ya. Kalau misalnya STEM, maybe it's more straightforward. Kita bisa bayangin, meneliti sesuatu di laboratorium, and then menciptakan sesuatu. Atau if it's on STEM, also inventing something related to robotic, for example. Gitu. Kalau yang STEM, it's more easy to imagine. So it's depend on anaknya apa. But like for Mishka, for example, because she's pursuing law and politics, so she's interviewing 9 political figure in Indonesia, termasuk beberapa menteri. And from that deep interview, dia membuat suatu typology, and that's basically her topic of research. Jadi memang disesuaikan. Banyak yang mikir, kalau law atau ekonomi misalnya apa yang di research ya gitu, pasti ada aja, tinggal harus dicari topik yang sesuai dengan passionnya dia melakukan apa gitu. Dan tapi proses ini memang nggak cepat gitu. Untuk profesor, a lot of people do cold calling, emailing to just any professors. She successfully
So for my own child, but I think this is a very, very long road because I actually did this is her third year doing this. So the first year was looking for different professors, cold emailing them. So I have to sit with her and and help her structure on how to email a person to get them interested in what you are doing because you are only a high school student, right? So after that, on the second year, because when she has gotten a few replies, quite a few, then even if the professor replied to you, doesn't mean that they will help you because they are complete strangers. And for my case, they are not in Indonesia as well. So my kids are doing it from a remote perspective. It's a bit more complex. So some of them will ask your child's age and things like that. So it's ribet sih.
You do it
But
early?
you do it early, you will have the time for it. Like she started in grade 9, so yeah. And then when she chose she gets chosen to go to some of them, harus perkenalan juga. Jadi ada masa-masa perkenalan dulu. Before you have to impress the professors before they will actually decide, okay, I'll take you in one of my research. Yeah, that's for my daughter's case. But a lot of it, for both of us, the children actually managed to find their own professors, in a way. Yeah. I hope that answered the question.
Nah, untuk project dan research itu nanti mereka presentasinya ke siapa gitu. Jadi kan kalau misalnya buat CV kan kita mesti ngomong, oh saya research, tapi kan kita mesti presentasikan ke siapa.
Yeah, so in the case of a research paper, most of the time, once you create a research paper, it's really good to publish it. So when you publish it, of course, there are a lot of options. Most students would go to a high school journal, which the acceptance rate is much more higher, since it's a journal that are full of high school students wanting to publish their research. But for me personally, I chose an international Scopus Index journal that I wanted to publish in. And this takes some risk because you cannot apply to 2 journals at the same time. You can only apply to 1. And if you apply to the international journal, it does take more time and the acceptance rate is very low. But once you get it, they would usually peer review. So I guess it's kind of a presentation in some way, although not like speaking verbally. Once the publication is published, however, you can try to maybe apply, or even sometimes I got invitations through email where they invite me to speak at conferences in order to present my research paper. So I think that's a way to present a research paper if you would like to. If not, I think getting it published is very, very important. Thank you.
Ada pertanyaan lagi?
Ini pertanyaan tentang cara belajar. Sekarang tentang gold ya kebanyakan di kompetisinya ya. Bagaimana kalau misalnya encounter pertanyaan yang tidak bisa kayak matematika, gold berarti solid sekali foundationnya. Kalau encounter pertanyaan yang tidak bisa dijawab, apakah orang tua membantu atau ada guru yang membantu? Itu pertanyaan pertama. Juga berapa lama untuk preparationnya untuk satu kompetisi gitu. Dan pertanyaan kedua, kan ngambilnya politik ya, politik internasional politik.
Law and
politics. How many languages can you speak?
Thank you so much. So for the first question about competitions, so from a very young age, me and my brother have always been taught to be independent, harus mandiri. So kita nggak pernah les. So every time, everything is all self-taught. So if I encounter a question that I found really difficult and something that I can't do, then maybe I would discuss with my younger brother and then we can just work on the question together. If not, then we would try to research, because now, of course, there's internet, and that is such an easy way to just gain more knowledge and try to understand how to solve a certain question. And of course, if that still doesn't work, then we would be able to ask our parents as well. Tapi memang kalau kita berdua nggak les. Tapi kalau les ya juga mungkin bisa as the teachers
Bisa nanya ke
tempat
teacher.
les.
Kalau mereka
people
memang
juga.
dari kecil nggak ikut les, jadi mereka sendiri berdua gitu. Terus tapi kalau misalnya benar-benar nggak bisa and there is no choice, then they will ask parents atau kalau nggak nanya
Hebat parents-nya ya.
Memang tapi boleh dibilang perjuangan selama 4-5 tahun. It's very hard for even for Mishka. She sleep. Memang it's not good. I'm not proud of it. She sleep like maybe 4 hours a day. Like dia memang rajin sekali anaknya. And it's not healthy. I know. Tapi it's just to describe, you know, that's how she is. She's quite. Dia punya ambition and dia punya goal and you know so. But the perjuangan untuk parents dan anaknya jujur, you know, it has to be together. Without the parents supporting, it's also maybe it's still possible, but not as high. So it's very important. What's the second question?
For the next question, I am majoring in political science or politics and free law. And as for that, I think languages probably matter more if you're doing international relations. For me personally, of course, English, Indonesian. I used to do Chinese and I'm currently learning French. But I think that's much more relative for maybe global studies or international relations.
Okay. Another question? Ngomong di sini?
Ya, selamat pagi. Terima kasih atas sharingnya, sangat menginspirasi.
Thank you also for coming.
Anak saya masih di kelas 7. Cuman mau tanya, kalau dulu tuh Miska sempat ini kayak tes untuk passion atau kayak apa ya, di CBCS itu kan ada psikologi kan. Nah kalau itu tuh ngaruh nggak ya untuk ambil keputusan, oh ya ini yang saya mau.
Menurut saya sih itu memang it does matter ya, bisa kelihatan anaknya passionnya di mana. But from my own experience, but again it can be different ya every kid.
Yeah.
But for my kids it can change. Jadi maybe 80% will not change, tapi for my kids it happened that they change. Gitu. Jadi actually I have to tell you a little bit how Mishka changed. I think in the beginning kan mereka hanya do math, science, very focusing on STEM. Lalu gara-gara that teacher yang giving her opportunity to speak, then she become more confident. And then from there dia dapat banyak opportunity. Memang kebetulan waktu itu karena anak-anak saya menang banyak lomba, and then sempat masuk ke media, and then mereka dapat opportunity ditawarin untuk interview. Nah dari situ karena dia udah mendapatkan confidence dari yang tadi teachernya itu, so they did it quite well, answering interview question. Dan jadi Mishka merasa, oh I like speaking gitu. And then dari situ mungkin akhirnya jadi ikut moon debate. Nah dari situ akhirnya dia feel that I want to be a lawyer gitu. Jadi ada pathway-nya yang saya bilang, kadang one door open to another yang suddenly dari pure STEM jadi completely something different gitu. So tapi kalau memang ada tes, I think it's good to do, just at least you know. Dan siapa tahu anaknya keep continuing showing interest and you know achievement on that area, then it's good because then you found it early. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, maybe I add a little bit about that. So basically, the students or the kids will know their passion is based on their experience and exploration. If they don't know, basically they will not choose that major or their fields because they don't know. So the important things is for the students that explore, especially for the students that still in 7th grade, it's very important for the students to explore anything. Yeah, like meet with the people, talk with the people, see the jobs. Maybe when we accompany them, we can talk about anything. Yeah, Like maybe if we go to the hotel, if we go to the farm, for example, we can show it and as a parents to let them to think like about that. And then based on their exploration, exposure, so they will know whether that one is suitable fit with them or not. For the psychology task, basically it's for the tool, the one that Ibu Widi saying. As a tool for the students to find out, especially in the beginning, right? And then that one also is based on their capacity, like their skill with the patient. But yes, the patient is based on their exposure. But at least we know at the first step based on that skill. If the student that really know they want and then the skill is matched, usually they don't change. But yes, especially for those of students that still in 7th grade, 8th grade, they might be changed. Yeah.
Tanya kalau misalnya menurut pengalaman, apakah sains sama matematik itu hal yang harus banget untuk ditanamkan sama anak-anak? Kadang-kadang kan anak-anak ada juga beberapa yang merasa, oh aku sukanya art. Apakah matematik dan sains itu mempengaruhi sebagai dasar? Maksudnya barangkali mungkin ada juga yang suka math tapi suka art juga. Tapi bagaimana dengan anak-anak yang rasanya saya nggak suka math nih, saya nggak suka sains, saya suka art aja. Apakah kita sebagai orang tua butuh untuk membantu mereka mendalamkan di bagian math-nya atau?
I'm an answer for that. Yes, I think it's important. Tapi again, respect for any other opinion, but for my own personal opinion, it's very important because math itu menanamkan itu ya critical thinking. Jadi cara logika. Jadi later on, even though they're not taking job or studying yang relate ke math, dan at least biasa kalau dari kecil mathnya udah strong, nanti anaknya lebih bisa menganalisa suatu problem dan mencari problem dengan mudah gitu. As easy so untuk find solution gitu. Jadi nanti misalnya ada say another problem di another subject, dan dia bisa tahu, oh kita giniin aja, why don't we try this, hey guys let's do this. Itu semuanya terbangun dari situ, karena anaknya jadi lebih critical thinkingnya jadi lebih terlatihnya. Oh yeah, and also kalau mau apply to US, for example, you're required to take the SAT test, for top universities, and it's basically testing your math kemampuan ability and also the English. So math is always important. And also just a lot of people also don't know, untuk anak-anak yang mau ambil jurusan ekonomi misalnya, itu mathnya harus ambil yang the most difficult math level. Gitu. People think that economic is easy. No, actually harus ngambilnya tuh subjeknya yang paling difficult. Gitu. Jadi so I think it's quite important. Finance juga ya.
Mau nanya sedikit lagi, kan tadi nggak les ya. Jadi kan mungkin ada les-les lain nggak, maksudnya yang
yang dibilang sama Miss tadi benar. Waktu anak-anak saya kecil saya ikutin semuanya. Gitu tuh, be honest, tadi sebenarnya saya mau nambah, cuma saya decided tadi nggak usah. Devon show very good talent di tenis. Gitu. Dia mainnya bagus sekali. Jadi waktu dia kecil itu justru sering ikut turnamen. Gitu. Tapi along the way, again, suddenly we can see ada personality dari anaknya mungkin yang ternyata nggak cocok untuk jadi sports person. Gitu. Again, as I say, he's a very relaxed person. Yeah, because he doesn't have to study. He always like last minute person. Yeah, but he got like perfect score gitu. Tapi dengan sifatnya itu dia tidak bisa menjadi seorang sports person karena kurang ambitious, kurang apa namanya, resilient like gitu ya. Tapi yes, you have to put your kids try everything kalau masih kecil. So taekwondo, we also take taekwondo. So I thought if he got fully one day then he can fight for himself. So
maaf saya tadi tanya kadang pengen tahu di exposure apa aja memang harus kita lakuin sama anak itu.
Ya, kalau menurut saya personally it's good to explore that. Kalau misalnya anak saya great at art, then I would have, pursue mereka, dibukain opportunity untuk di hal tersebut juga. Gitu. Tapi tetap waktu mumpung masih kecil harus dicoba dulu, karena nanti waktu udah di grade 10, 11, 12, they have to focus on the academic kan. So then it will be already too late, So
tadi kayaknya kan anaknya suka art tuh. Anaknya suka art. So I realized that because recently we have this applicant who is applying for top art school, UAL, as well as Parsons. So for her, she doesn't really like to do drawing. So she does a lot of sculpture. So maksudnya exposure suka arts itu there are many different different types of arts kan, dari movements, maybe something like that, and also sculptures. There is also digital design, and there's also the fine art drawings. Sekarang banyaknya di combine juga artsnya. Terus ada fashion design and all that. Because banyak sih yang you can try your child itu bisa ke something yang niche ya. Nggak usah cuma les gambar itu aja gitu.
Terima kasih masukannya.
I'm wondering if your high school is an AP-based high school. If not, are you taking your AP courses or exams elsewhere?
Yes, so my school is an AP-based school, so basically you can take either regular classes, honors classes, or advanced placement classes. But at the same time, there are also maybe different AP subjects that aren't offered in my school, and you can take the AP exam independently without actually taking the subject. Of course, there are some exceptions to that, maybe just less than 5 probably, where you do need to take the subject. But other than that, there are so many other AP exams that you can take outside of the school if your school doesn't offer the AP curriculum.
I have another question. This is more about parenting. Tadi kan kayak misalnya, expose the kids to so many things. But how do you know when to stop or when to push? For example, my daughter, yang kecil sekarang 7th grade. Dari TK dulu dibilang, she's gonna be a good writer. Dan memang in writing she's very good. She can like describe everything in very detail and blah blah blah. So waktu itu udah diarahin untuk dikasih like private 101 on writing. Tapi anaknya kesini makin kayak I have no interest in that. Padahal it's really good gitu. And so can you advise like when you have to push or when you have to maybe explore another thing?
Kalau menurut saya mungkin kalau untuk this particular case mungkin masih terlalu kecil ya, gitu. Nanti bisa jadi, when you reach grade 9 and everyone started to like to read, nanti dari read dan maybe the writing skill bisa muncul lagi ya, keinginan untuk writing. Because actually to be good at writing is a very good thing. One of the important thing when you apply to university is also based on your writing essay, and also there are lots of very good competition that, maybe it's too early. There's this
race is too early.
No, they actually have different competitions for
there are international, remember when I say earlier, banyak sekali parents yang ngikutin anaknya ke competition so many, but actually it's not considered good for the admission. There's actually some very good writing competition that you should try your kids to,
Still push that.
Yes, for me.
even writing there are many different kinds as well. Right?
Yeah.
So
Is she not enjoying writing anymore?
or sometimes also maybe for me I do change teachers as well. If I have lessons.
Find another way that I have to
Yes,
do it.
yes.
Still like
Sometimes
so sorry.
But if the child doesn't want it, then usually the child will tell you, maybe I don't think I will want to do this anymore.
Let me try again.
That's what
But that's just personal me, I think.
For the writing competition, maybe Ibu know Ibu Lena. maybe you can talk with her also because her daughter, Sharon Abigail, she also loved writing and then she joined the writing competition that is from, sorry if I'm mistaken, it's from university in UK. And then she got the Nobel at that time, and then the university actually is offer her to go to the UK to the next stage, but the parents decide not to continue on it. Maybe you can talk with her and then. Okay. Thank you. Any other question?
What motivates you to to do your planning early on, like with such a young age, and not give up? Because you must have a lot of sacrifice.
Yes, I think that's what many people don't realize, that of course throughout my application journey and even before that, there is a lot of sacrifice involved. But I understand that I do need to sacrifice certain things in order to actually gain my dream or gain the goal and achievement that I want. I think I've never really thought about giving up. Maybe sometimes I'm too busy to even entertain that idea. Because when you're fully focused on building something, then all you think about is what's the next task, what's the next improvement, and what's the next step. So I guess having that mindset that it's really important for you to achieve that goal. Remember and remind yourself of why did you even start that goal or start that task in the first place would help you go through those challenges way better. I know that sometimes you might think that, oh, will what I'm doing ever be good enough, or will it ever be enough in order to reach that goal? There is a lot of uncertainty along the way. But it is the act of showing up and keep on studying, keep on trying your best that will eventually get you over there.
Yang saya mungkin nggak tahu, kadang mungkin dari dirinya capek, give up, tapi dia ingat lagi goalnya itu, dia harus raih itu gitu. Kadang dia juga mungkin mikir, saya udah berkorban nih, udah 3 tahun, udah hampir, jadi itu yang bikin semangat lagi, mungkin seperti itu. That I guess that's what she's trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something else as well, that if I've already dedicated years of hard work and discipline into something, then why would I quit halfway? That would mean that everything that I've built up to that point loses momentum, and I just don't want my past effort to go to waste as well.
It's not easy kan to have that grit, you know. Sometimes kids will just like, just doom scrolling aja ngapain? Itu nanti will happen lah gitu, nggak planning sampai kayak begini. It's really ambition.
Mungkin dari
mom ya.
Saya salah satu yang poin yang saya selalu tanamkan itu saya orangnya nggak mau melepaskan opportunity gitu. Jadi kalau ada opportunity then you have to get it.
And when you decide to do things, then you have to commit to it.
Ya,
you cannot
salah
just
satu yang saya
stop.
bilang juga. Saya biarin mereka kalau mau do apa, saya bilang oke, tapi beneran ya, jangan setengah-setengah gitu. Jadi nggak boleh. Jadi makanya in everything that my kids does, they give like all in gitu, 400% gitu.
And then at the end, it turns out that you don't enjoy it, then that's fine. You can just explore different ones. But it's important that once you commit to something, you actually commit to
Jadi
it.
harus komit dulu. Nanti kalau memang ternyata nggak suka, I always welcome for them to talk to me. Misalnya mau ternyata ini dari sampai you don't have to keep continuing doing something that you don't like. Ya. Tapi at least kalau misalnya udah mau ikut apa atau doing project ya itu selesai dulu. You know, you have responsibility, finish it. Then after that you don't like it, come let's discuss. Then you know maybe after that you don't have to do it anymore. Tapi jadi mungkin dari kebiasaan ya, dari mereka kecil. Jadi makanya juga relate to opportunities. Jadi misalnya dia tahu maybe she can go to top universities. Jadi ya dia usahain banget.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much buat sharing dan ininya inspirationalnya buat Miska, Ibu Ani dan Ibu Sheila ya. Jadi saya recap sedikit. Jadi pada dasarnya memang untuk mempersiapkan anak itu tidak mudah. Saya berharap dengan sesi ini bukan kita menjadi overwhelmed ya, yang artinya udahlah kayaknya susah gitu kan ya. ya kan? Gimana kita sebagai parents ya, yang bisa membantu mengarahkan. Memang tidak mudah, tentunya seperti yang sudah di-sharingkan Ibu Weni, itu sangat susah buat kita as a parents. Tapi semoga dengan event ini, dengan sesi ini bisa membuat semangat para moms ya, terutama yang masih kelas 7, justru kesempatan ya untuk masih bisa membimbing, pergunakan waktu yang ada karena waktu cepat gitu, tidak kerasa anak-anak udah kuliah ya Bu ya gitu kan. Tapi balik lagi, apapun yang anak kita mau gitu kan ya, yang Tuhan udah kasih, terutama calling yang Tuhan udah kasih, itu yang kita perlu support. Gimana kita menemukannya? Ya itu memang perlu proses, nggak ada yang instan gitu kan ya. Bahkan mungkin ada beberapa anak yang in the last minute gitu kan ya, change in the last minute mereka baru menemukan gitu. Tapi kita yang bantu ya, tentu kita juga harus minta pertolongan Tuhan ya untuk bisa mengarahkan anak-anak kita tuh menemukan callingnya gitu. Nah, sementara di CBCS sendiri sebenarnya relate Bu, kita tuh American Curriculum gitu. Jadi all the students kita semuanya ada SAT, harus wajib SAT test in the 12th grade, and then AP test juga kita offer, tapi optional gitu ya. Jadi mungkin dengan sesi ini ibu akan lebih mengerti ya kenapa itu penting AP, terutama tergantung negaranya lagi tadi gitu ya. Jadi untuk anak yang untuk orang tua yang anaknya masih di grade bawah, yang grade 9, grade 10 udah bisa mempersiapkan kalau memang membutuhkan AP-nya gitu ya. Begitu juga dengan essay tadi ya. Semoga kita bisa sharing nih, karena kan anak-anak gak ikut ya dari pertemuan ini. Gimana cara kita sharing ke anak-anak supaya anak-anak juga bisa mendapatkan inspirasinya dan semangat untuk bisa mempersiapkannya gitu untuk essay-nya. Karena betul banget setiap anak kelas 12, kalau yang baru melakukannya di kelas 12 mereka overwhelmed banget gitu ya. Ada yang kadang datang ke saya nangis gitu ya, Miss really stressful dia bilang gitu, karena mereka harus mempersiapkan essay ya kan. Tadi udah dikatakan 7 essay loh dari satu universitas, kalau dia apply-nya 3 atau 5 aja udah berapa kebayang essay-nya. Belum lagi kita tahu di CBCS untuk pelajaran kelasnya masih berjalan, dan the big things thesis defense ya, itu sangat gitu kan. Kita ada research paper yang anak-anak tuh harus mungkin di kelas 12, jadi mereka dari mulai kelas 12 mereka udah bikin pilih topik, and then mereka research, and then bikin thesis paper, and then di terakhir tuh mereka harus defense gitu kan. Besok ya, Jumat mulai tesis defense kelas 12. Jadi memang waktunya kalau bisa dipersiapkan lebih dini, anaknya akan lebih ready. Jadi maksudnya untuk menghindari stres yang last minute di kelas 12, karena terlalu banyak yang harus mereka kerjakan gitu ya. Lalu untuk pembimbingan dari CBCS kita sudah mulai dari kelas 9, mungkin anak-anak Bapak Ibu kalau yang kelas 9 mereka udah ada inalim tes ya, itu juga bisa membantu mengarahkan. Di kelas 10 akan ada psychology test yang membantu untuk tools gitu ya. Di kelas 11 ada SAT simulasi, itu juga bisa membantu persiapkan. Dan kita kasih lagi psychology test itu di kelas 12 karena kita tahu pertimbangannya bahwa anak-anak akan berubah itu, supaya kalau misalnya di kelas 10 atau kelas 9 keluarnya A, in the kelas 12 itu di bulan Agustus ya kan, itu udah mau mulai daftar, dia change atau enggak gitu. Karena otomatis dengan exposure yang mereka dapatkan bisa memungkinkan untuk dia berubah gitu ya. Jadi kita sama-sama nih hand in hand antara orang tua dan sekolah, kita sama-sama, saya yakin, percaya apapun yang nanti anaknya ambil dimanapun itu yang Tuhan tempatkan, itu merupakan yang terbaik karena Tuhan punya rancangan yang indah buat setiap anak-anak kita. Amin. Oke. Ada Miss Abad nih, Miss Abad want to say something? Oke. Kalau sudah ada, you want to share something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share. So if you are interested in the book, it's available here. So Mishka will actually be doing the book launch only this Saturday di Grand Indonesia. Terus kalau tadi ada yang banyak yang nanya soal matematika, so Devon is currently not in Indonesia, but he is coming down at the end of June to teach actually. So how he approached his different math problems with his sisters, discussion and things like that. Yeah, he'll be teaching it for grade 1 until grade 9 as well. So if you are interested, we might open a class for Bandung as well. Tapi kalau di Bandung mungkin tanggal 6 sampai 8 Juli. Iya, it's the holiday ya. Ini sih kalau interested juga please come. It's very near here. Kalau nggak bisa bukunya bisa hari ini sih. It's here. So Mishka wrote her experience on what she did, the different standardized tests she took, how she achieved such high scores as well.
Oke, thank you. Ya, mari kita tutup dalam doa. Tuhan Yesus yang baik, terima kasih Tuhan buat pagi hari ini. Terima kasih buat info yang begitu sangat membangun, menginspirasi kami semua Tuhan. Supaya kita sebagai anak-anak-Mu Tuhan, yang sebagai orang tua yang telah Kau percaya untuk membimbing setiap anak-anak kami percaya Tuhan melalui sesi ini kami akan lebih lagi Tuhan bersemangat Tuhan untuk lebih lagi menemani, mendampingi setiap anak-anak kami supaya mereka betul-betul Tuhan bisa menemukan passion mereka, menemukan calling yang daripada Engkau, bisa terus Tuhan menjadi mami-mami yang luar biasa Tuhan dengan segala pengorbanannya. Tapi kami yakin Tuhan setiap apa yang Engkau akan tanamkan pada setiap anak kami itu akan mendatangkan kebaikan. Kami serahkan Tuhan apabila setelah ini setiap orang tua akan kembali dengan aktivitasnya masing-masing. Begitu juga dengan Miska, Ibu Weni dan Ibu Sila untuk mereka akan melanjutkan sesinya. Biarlah Engkau juga yang akan memberkati mereka Tuhan. Apa yang sudah mereka tabur kami percaya Tuhan tidak akan sia-sia, tapi mereka akan menuai balik ya Tuhan dengan apa yang Engkau akan berikan kepada keluarga ini. Tuhan, sekali lagi kami ucap syukur bahwa segala sesuatunya hanya di dalam nama-Mu. Kami berdoa dan mengucap syukur. Amin. Tuhan Yesus memberkati. Thank you for today.